You wake up at 2 in the morning to use the bathroom. You fall back asleep. You wake up again at 4. And you have been doing this for so long that you have started to believe it is just part of getting older. It is not. Waking up 2 or more times every night to urinate has a clinical name. It is called Nocturia, and it is not a normal consequence of aging. It is a physiological signal with a specific mechanism, a documented set of causes, and a set of interventions, with peer-reviewed evidence showing meaningful reduction in nighttime frequency. What makes nocturia more than an inconvenience is not the trip to the bathroom itself. It is what that trip destroys. The most restorative phase of sleep, stage N3, slow-wave deep sleep, occurs predominantly in the first 3 to 4 hours of the night. This is when the brain consolidates memory, when the cardiovascular system undergoes its primary repair cycle, when cortisol drops to its daily minimum, and when growth hormone peaks to drive cellular restoration throughout the body. Every interruption to this window does not simply pause the process, it resets it. Each time you wake and fall back asleep, the deep sleep architecture has to rebuild from the beginning. Adults who wake 2 or more times per night for the bathroom are spending a significant portion of their sleep time in lighter stages that do not deliver the restorative function of N3. The consequences accumulate silently over months and years. A review published in Sleep Medicine Reviews documented that chronic disruption of slow-wave sleep is independently associated with accelerated cognitive decline, increased cardiovascular risk, and impaired glucose metabolism, all conditions that worsen over time without any obvious single cause. The nocturia is the cause. The fatigue, the brain fog, the morning sluggishness, and the blood pressure that is harder to control after 60, these are among its consequences. Now the mechanisms behind nocturia after 60, because understanding them is what makes the 3 solutions make sense. The first mechanism is overactive bladder. The detrusor muscle is the smooth muscle that lines the bladder wall. In a healthy bladder, the detrusor stays relaxed while the bladder fills and contracts only when urination is voluntary and appropriate. In overactive bladder, which affects a significant proportion of adults over 60, the detrusor contracts involuntarily during filling. These involuntary contractions create urgent, often overwhelming signals to urinate that do not correspond to actual bladder fullness. Magnesium deficiency is one of the most consistently documented contributors to detrusor overactivity in older adults. Magnesium is the primary mineral regulating smooth muscle relaxation throughout the body. When magnesium is deficient, smooth muscle, including the detrusor, becomes more excitable and contracts more readily in response to minor stimuli. Studies published in Neurourology and Urodynamics document a statistically significant association between low serum magnesium and overactive bladder symptoms in adults over 60. Magnesium supplementation in deficient adults has been shown to reduce detrusor overactivity and improve bladder control in multiple trials. The second mechanism is poor fluid distribution throughout the day. Most adults over 60 concentrate the majority of their fluid intake in the afternoon and evening hours. Coffee in the morning, minimal water through the day, then multiple glasses of water, tea, or other beverages in the evening. When fluid intake is concentrated in the evening, the kidneys process that fluid load during the night. The result is high urine production during sleep hours, regardless of bladder control. The volume problem is entirely separate from the detrusor problem, and both must be addressed for meaningful reduction in nocturia. Hi, I'm Dr. Mercer. I spent over 20 years in urology adjacent medicine studying the intersection of sleep, fluid regulation, and bladder function in older adults. What I found when I looked at the nocturia research was that the majority of adults suffering from nighttime urination are dealing with at least 2 of 3 addressable causes simultaneously, none of which had ever been explained to them. If you are waking up 2 or more times per night to use the bathroom, leave a comment below with how many times you wake up and your age. I want to see how common this is in our community because what I am about to share is something no appointment ever covered. There is no pharmaceutical company that profits when an older adult resolves nocturia through hydration timing, magnesium and pelvic floor training instead of an overactive bladder prescription. Before we go further, take 2 seconds and check that you are subscribed. People watch multiple videos here and forget to subscribe. It costs nothing. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. This is where we open what your appointment never covered. Now the third mechanism, and this one affects men specifically, benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, is the non-cancerous enlargement of the prostate gland that affects the majority of men over 60. The prostate surrounds the urethra, the tube that carries urine from the bladder. As the prostate enlarges, it compresses the urethra and reduces the efficiency of bladder emptying. When the bladder cannot empty completely, residual urine remains after each void. That residual volume reduces the functional capacity of the bladder, meaning the bladder reaches its effective threshold faster and signals urgency sooner with each filling cycle. For men with BPH, nocturia is driven by this incomplete emptying on top of any detrusor, overactivity, or fluid distribution issues. The pelvic floor exercise protocol in this video addresses both the male and female nocturia mechanisms, but men with significant BPH symptoms should also discuss prostate evaluation with their physician. Before I explain the 3 interventions in the protocol, I need to tell you about 2 resources. The first is the Hidden Health Protocols, 10 evidence-based guides designed for adults over 40. The complete nocturia protocol from today, the exact magnesium dosing, the hydration timing schedule, the pelvic floor training sequence, and the sleep architecture guide that explains how to protect deep sleep when nighttime interruptions are reduced. The second resource is the Advanced Longevity System, the complete sleep aging stack, and the biomarkers that measure sleep quality and urinary function before consequences accumulate. Both links are in the description and pinned comment below. A study published in the European Urology journal followed adults over 60 with nocturia 2 or more times per night over a 5-year period and measured health outcomes. The nocturia group showed significantly higher rates of hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular events compared to age-matched adults without nocturia after controlling for other risk factors. The researchers concluded that nocturia is not merely a symptom of underlying disease, but an independent contributor to health deterioration through sleep disruption. A separate analysis published in the Journal of Urology documented that adults with nocturia 2 or more times per night have a 1.5 times higher risk of nighttime falls and hip fractures compared to adults without nocturia. The mechanism is straightforward. Walking to the bathroom in the dark, partially disoriented from interrupted deep sleep, with blood pressure not yet fully adjusted from lying to standing, is one of the highest risk moments for falls in the entire day. These are not trivial consequences. They are documented, measurable, and directly connected to a nighttime urination pattern that most adults accept without question. If you made it this far, you already understand something most physicians never explain about nighttime urination and aging. Subscribe and share this with someone over 60 who wakes up multiple times per night and has been told it is just getting older. The Hidden Health Protocols and the Advanced Longevity System have the complete nocturia protocol in written form, every dose, every timing detail, every exercise sequence. The link is in the description and pinned comment. Now the 3 interventions with the strongest evidence for reducing nocturia. Intervention 1, hydration timing. This is the intervention with the most immediate and dramatic effect, and it costs nothing. The goal is to shift 80% of daily fluid intake to the hours between waking and 2 in the afternoon. Drink your morning coffee, your morning water, and the majority of your daily fluids in the first 8 hours of the day. After 2 in the afternoon, begin reducing fluid intake gradually. After 6 in the evening, consume only small sips as needed. After 8 in the evening, stop all fluid intake except what is medically necessary. This timing shift does not reduce total daily hydration. It redistributes when the kidneys are processing that fluid load. When fluid is consumed earlier in the day, the kidneys process most of it during waking hours when bathroom access is easy and bladder capacity is most functional. When the kidneys have already processed the majority of the day's fluid by evening, urine production during sleep hours drops significantly. A clinical study on fluid management timing in adults with nocturia found that structured fluid timing, without any other intervention, reduced mean nighttime voiding frequency by approximately 30 to 40% within 2 weeks. No medication, no supplements, no procedures, only the timing of when fluid was consumed. Intervention 2, magnesium glycinate before bed. 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate taken 1 hour before sleep addresses both the detrusor overactivity mechanism and the sleep architecture disruption simultaneously. Magnesium directly relaxes smooth muscle throughout the body. In the context of the bladder, adequate magnesium reduces the involuntary detrusor contractions that create the urgent signals driving nocturia in overactive bladder. In the context of sleep, magnesium activates GABA receptors in the brain that promote deeper and more sustained slow-wave sleep. Better slow-wave sleep means that even if one nighttime void does occur, the body returns to deep sleep more rapidly afterward, reducing the total sleep disruption from each episode. A study in Neurourology and Urodynamics measured bladder overactivity symptoms in magnesium-deficient adults before and after magnesium supplementation for 8 weeks. The supplemented group showed statistically significant reductions in urgency frequency and nighttime voiding episodes compared to the unsupplemented group. Use magnesium glycinate specifically, not magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide absorbs at approximately 4% and is the form found in most inexpensive drugstore supplements. Magnesium glycinate absorbs at 40% or higher and does not cause the digestive discomfort that other forms produce. Intervention 3, 2-minute pelvic floor training before bed. The pelvic floor muscles support the bladder and urethra, and play a direct role in bladder control during the night. Weak or uncoordinated pelvic floor muscles reduce the ability to inhibit bladder contractions voluntarily. Pelvic floor training, specifically the slow contraction and relaxation sequence, strengthens the inhibitory control of the detrusor and increases functional bladder capacity over time. A Cochrane review on pelvic floor muscle training for urinary incontinence and urgency found statistically significant reductions in voiding frequency in adults who performed pelvic floor exercises consistently over 6 weeks. The training protocol is simple and can be performed in bed before sleep. Contract the pelvic floor muscles slowly, as if stopping urination midstream. Hold the contraction for 5 seconds. Release slowly over 5 seconds. Repeat 10 times. Perform the sequence once before going to sleep every night. The training effect builds over 4 to 6 weeks. Week 1 and 2, most people notice a modest reduction in urgency, the feeling that they must go immediately before noticing reduced frequency. Week 3 and 4, frequency begins to decrease as functional bladder capacity improves. At 6 weeks, the Cochrane data showed statistically significant reductions in nighttime voiding episodes in the trained group. One additional physical adjustment that amplifies all 3 interventions. Elevate the foot of the bed by 2 to 4 inches. This can be done with a wedge under the mattress or risers under the bed legs. During the day, fluid from the circulatory system pools in the legs and ankles due to gravity and reduced venous return in older adults. When you lie flat, this fluid redistributes back into the central circulation, and the kidneys process it during the night, increasing nighttime urine production. Mild elevation of the feet while sleeping reduces this fluid redistribution and lowers nighttime urine volume independently of hydration timing. This is the same principle behind the recommendation to elevate the legs in the afternoon for adults with ankle edema. An important safety note before the results timeline: Nocturia that began suddenly worsened abruptly, or is accompanied by pain, burning, or blood in the urine requires medical evaluation before any self-management. Sudden onset nocturia can indicate urinary tract infection, uncontrolled diabetes, heart failure, or other conditions that require prompt physician attention. If your nocturia has been gradual and long-standing, the 3 interventions in this video are appropriate to implement. If it is new or rapidly worsening, see your physician first. Week 1. Most people who implement the hydration timing change immediately notice a reduction in the number of nighttime voids within 3 to 5 days. The effect is not subtle. Shifting 80% of fluid intake before 2 in the afternoon dramatically reduces the kidney's workload during sleep hours within days. Week 2. Magnesium glycinate begins producing its detrusor relaxation effect. The urgency that used to wake you and make the 3-step walk to the bathroom feel like a race against time begins to feel less urgent, giving you more control over the response. Week 3 and 4. Pelvic floor training begins to show its cumulative effect. The functional bladder capacity increases. The involuntary contractions that were sending false urgency signals diminish. The nighttime voids that remain are true capacity voids, not overactive detrusor contractions. At 6 weeks, adults who have implemented all 3 interventions consistently typically report waking once or 0 times per night, where they were previously waking 2 or 3 times. The sleep architecture that is now protected across the full night begins producing the downstream changes that compound over months. Morning energy that feels different from what it has in years. Blood pressure readings that are measurably lower in the morning than before the nocturia was addressed. Cognitive clarity that improves as the slow wave sleep that was being fragmented every night begins to complete its restorative cycle. These are not small changes. They are the downstream effects of protecting the most important hours of sleep. The hidden health protocols is where this entire Nocturia protocol lives in complete written form. The hydration schedule, the magnesium protocol, the pelvic floor training sequence, the bed elevation guide, and the sleep architecture protection system, plus 9 other guides for adults over 40. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Do not close this video without clicking it. The advanced longevity system goes further. The complete sleep aging stack, how Nocturia connects to cardiovascular and cognitive aging, the bladder health biomarkers, and the advanced protocols for adults with BPH or diagnosed overactive bladder. Both links in the description. Both resources. Right now. Subscribe and give this video a like if this opened something for you. Share it with someone who wakes up every night and has accepted it as aging. It is not aging. It is addressable. It starts tonight with when you drink your last glass of water. Comment below. How many times a night are you waking up to use the bathroom? I read every comment. Your questions shape what I research next. Keep investigating. See you in the next one.